354. Joining me today is I never asked how to pronounce your name. How do I pronounce your name?
It's
Is it
Handi. I'm Handi.
Handi? Okay, there we go. See, folks, for anyone who thinks we're actively prepared to do these, no, it is off the cuff. It really is freewheeling and dealing here. I am joined here by Handi, who has graciously agreed to talk about his GMAT journey, which was a fairly condensed one. He went from a 670 to a 710 in the span of 10 days, I think. And for those of you wondering how I know that, I'm reading it off the top of the screen here. I haven't read his debrief. And the reason I do that, as I say for all my videos, is twofold. One, I'm lazy. Two, I know all of you are lazy, meaning that if I read it and I come in here with information that I assume you already know, when you don't get the full effect of this debrief. So that's why I haven't read it, meaning I am as clueless and as dumb as all of you out there. Before I have Handi introduce himself, I have a quick announcement from GMAT Club. Yes, we do have announcements. We do like to advertise ourselves every now and again. We are doing the Road to Round 3 YouTube series. What I just posted is the link on the forum. I didn't realize this. Shows how engaged I am on this front. We are doing a series where we're talking about all these different criteria and all these steps you can take to get admitted in round 3 and the process within. So if that interests you, if it's something that you've considered in the past, if you have a GMAT or GRE score and you think maybe I want to apply, but maybe it's not the right time, this would be the way to do that. So read up, join the videos when they go live, and hopefully you get to enjoy yourself and learn a little bit. But enough rambling on my part. Handi, please introduce yourself to our lovely audience because they haven't come to hear me, they've come to hear you.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Evan, for having me here today. So, my name is Handi. I graduated 2 years ago from University College London, a university in the UK. And after graduation, I started working for a crypto VC as an investment manager. So I was kind of diving into cryptos, and after working there for 6 months, we and some other guys started one of our own. So we were doing investments under. There's some other people who come in and invest money in our firm. So it was kind of going great in the beginning, but recently the crypto markets has been going not that well in general. And yeah, so there are just very few investment opportunities around. So me and my partners agreed that I should do another master degree to make sure I have more solid foundations in finance. And if the market turns around in the future, I can get back to crypto VC. Otherwise, I probably just start working a traditional finance industry. So yeah, and I started preparing GMAT since December and took the test like the week before last week.
And there you have it, folks. Wow, I didn't realize you were a crypto guy. They should have had somebody else do this. I am a crypto non-believer. I have not converted to the church of the Bitcoin, and I never will. So for anyone out there who wants to try and convert me, do your best. I dare you. But you have a very interesting background. You sort of answered one of my questions, which is why did you want to take the GMAT? And I'll follow up with that first. In a minute. But first, I want to let everybody know that, and I meant to say this at the beginning, Handi here is, I believe, somebody fact check me on this, please, if you're a diehard GMAT Club YouTube fan. Handi, I believe, is our very first Chinese debriefer, at least according to him and one of our other admins who helps run this show. So that's exciting. See, we're going diverse here at GMAT Club. We're really broadening our horizons. So, folks, if you have a good story that you want to tell, we haven't done a lot of these recently because we like to vet people and we like to really find quality stories that are interesting. If you have an interesting story for a debrief that you want to join us for, reach out to me on GMAT Club. I'll post my forum profile here. And let's get you on here. We want to hear your stories because without your stories, I have no stories. And if I have no stories, I'm not here wasting my time. So please join us. But with that said, Handi, you've decided to take the GMAT and because you wanted to pursue an MBA or a master's degree because the crypto markets have sort of transitioned into a bear market, as some would define it. And that's typical, where in good times people don't go to grad school, and in bad times people rush to business school. Let me ask, what was the first thing that you did once you decided to take the GMAT? Because again, this is condensed. This is 2 months. So in December, you've decided it's Christmas time. I'm all happy. Everyone's good. I have a cookie in hand, and you know what? I want to punish myself. I want to take the GMAT. What did you decide to do in that moment?
Yeah, so the first thing kind of came to my mind was like, what kind of score I would need. So at the time, I was like, probably any score better than 700 would be nice. So, because there's so many people talking about scoring 700, so I would be saying that probably scoring 710 or better is a good idea. Also, then, yeah,
Great
I
idea.
just want. Yeah, so I started kind of doing research for different resources. So if I were to prepare, because I were kind of investing like 5 hours per day into this course, so I was thinking which course to take. So cause there was one YouTuber I have been following for a long time, so he kind of recommended TTP. So I decided
And
to
what does
go with it.
TTP stand for our audience?
I think it's Target Test Prep.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah. So that YouTuber got 750 and he got into Wharton. So I was kind of like, okay, yeah, it should be working for me as well. So yeah, after 7 days of trial, and then I start like make the subscription and start taking learning all the concepts and doing all the practices.
Very nice. I'm going to pull us back, but folks, so somebody asked, when can you ask questions? You can ask questions at any point. I will try and get to them at the end. I will also try and very likely to ask them during this session, meaning that it should be answered prior to us getting to the end. But if I don't, I promise to circle back. I also want to mention that this show is completely agenda free. And what do I mean by that? I mean that, so Handi just mentioned Target Test Prep. I don't know if he's going to praise it. I don't know if he's going to bash it. What I can tell you, folks, is Target Test Prep is a sponsor of GMAT Club. But frankly, I don't care. If he wants to go and trash Target Test Prep, that's okay in my book. They're not paying my salary. I'm okay with anyone coming on here and trashing or praising anything they used, consultants, prep companies, question sets, anything. If you come on here, you have free reign to be completely honest and open, because that's what this is about. If you're going to trust any source in the world to get accurate information that's completely unbiased, use this video. I'm not being compensated. I always get this confused. He's not being compensated. Nobody is. This show is meant to be completely honest, and it's meant to be the truth and nothing more. So, Handi, you said Target Test Prep, your friend did well on it, and you said, okay, I'm thinking about taking this. What was your initial goal? So you said you want to score at least a 700 plus, a 710. How long did you hope it would take for you studying to get to that point?
Honestly, I was thinking like the whole preparation is gonna take like 2 months. Also, I did check how many hours I spent on the platform, so it's like 170 hours. And also, I watched a ton of YouTube videos, like the ones from GMATninja.com and some other GMAT Club videos. So it's probably taking around, I would say, around 50 hours, something around that. Yeah. So.
Now, did you discover GMAT Club before you decided to study, or was it all this after you decided to study?
I think it's all after I started. So I would just start trying to looking for resources. Then GMAT Club came to my eyes.
So did you purchase Target Test Prep?
Yes, I did. So I mean, I can share some of my views on the course. So if that's what you want.
Yeah, but in a few minutes. I was just trying to make sure that I understood the resources you used. So if I'm hearing you correctly, so you use GMAT Ninja videos, you use GMAT Club, and you use Target Test Prep. Did you use any other resources as far as you know?
Honestly, not quite. I even didn't look at one page of OG. Although I did many OG questions on GMAT Club, but I actually didn't look at any of the OG resources.
That's okay. So we've got our 3 sources in hand of how we built ourselves up. So I want to ask, how were you studying and working? Did this affect your schedule? I know a lot of people tend to struggle with this concept of balancing work, life, studying, having some semblance of a social life beyond that. How did you handle and balance that?
Yeah, so currently what I'm been working is basically talking to different project teams or VCs from time to time, but it won't take a lot of time every day. So I get to invest like around 4 hours, 5 hours in weekdays. And honestly, it's up to how many hours people can put into everyday study in GMAT. So like every resources or on if you Google it, it says takes around 200 hours to prepare for GMAT. That's what gonna take if you're not like super smart or like some Superman. It's the time you're gonna take you have to spend on learning GMAT. So just to make sure that like the hours you spend per day can fulfill your like target.
Which is, I think, a very realistic way to approach this. Were you studying in the morning, afternoon, night? What? How did it fit your schedule? I know a lot of morning people like to study in the morning, night people like to study at night. Did you have a preference, or was it just no, whenever I can?
Mostly I do it in the evenings, but when I was practicing questions, when I was on the train or like when I got any free time, I just click the forum and see if there are any questions I want to do because it takes around like 2 minutes, 3 minutes for each questions at most. So
And let me ask, what suffered in your life? Everyone has to sacrifice. I know I personally sacrificed my social life when going through the exams. I read, I exercised, and I worked. But unfortunately, I had to cut out my social life in order to make sure that I could unwind after each day. What did you feel suffered as a result of your studying?
yeah, it's like multiple things, such as like probably before I could have time to play video games in the evening, but
Yep.
I have to, ditch that. Also some social lives, have to kind of avoid participating in these things, especially in 2 weeks before the exam. So yeah, it takes determination to start preparing for GMAT and make it through.
All right. So now we've sort of built out our background here. I want to now talk about your studying, which is what the people on this video probably want to see and hear about. I see that you went from a 670 to a 710. Is that 670 a real attempt, or was that 670 a mock test?
Actually, it was a mock test.
Okay.
Cause it, yeah. So actually, it was my third mock-up test. Actually,
Okay.
in the
Then
first one, yeah.
yeah, then let's go back to the beginning here. So let's go way back to December, back in 2022. You've decided you're going to study. You've found GMAT Club. You've signed up for target test prep. What was the first thing you did beyond that point? Did you take a mock test to establish your baseline score? Did you begin to study? What did you do?
Yeah, so honestly, I didn't take any mock-up tests in the beginning because I was kind of told that there are only 6 out there, so everyone is kind of precious that you can't just waste them. But I don't know, like if some people have like limited time stream, they cannot do all the 6 mock-up exams before their actual exam. So it's fine if they want to take one in the beginning. So I actually didn't. I kind of took one like semi mock-up, so it showed the range around like 640 something like that, 650. Yeah, it was kind of my starting point. I'm not sure about that, but actually I probably took some extra time on the questions. So yeah.
Okay. And so we've begun our studies a little bit. You're doing questions. Was that through GMAT Club or target test prep?
Sorry, I didn't hear. Like there was some
I'm sorry.
disconnection.
I was saying, so you've begun to study just a little bit. You're doing a couple of questions here and there. You're getting the ball rolling. Were you doing target test prep, as in doing the videos to help you build your fundamentals? or just going on GMAT Club and fooling around with a couple of questions and saying, you know what, let's just figure out how I feel about things?
So when I was actually making the preparation, like in the beginning, I only used target test prep as a resources. When I was about to take a mock-ups and during my final preparation, I used a lot of GMAT Club questions, like just to practice as many questions as possible. So my approach to learn GMAT is kind of study the concepts in the beginning, and then doing the questions.
Gotcha. Okay. And by the way, I think that's the right way to approach it. That is the right way to go about things, where you build out your fundamentals, you get the knowledge base, and then you attack questions, rather than saying, oh, I'm going to do the questions and that's how I'm going to learn. Doesn't really work that well. And whoops, I screwed up posting that link. So sorry to Lazola. This is the link you want to use to get mock tests. And to clarify what Handi said earlier, he said there are only 6 tests. He meant the official ones. There are countless prep companies out there that will have mock tests. There are only 6 official ones, meaning that those are the ones that you should trust. If you get a 710 and a 720 on 2 of them, odds are that's what you're going to get on the test when you go for it for real. If you're getting a 680 on eGMAT or Veritas or MGMAT's mocks, but then you're getting a 750 on the NBA.com ones, NBA.com is right, they're wrong. So just so everybody's aware. Bahani, so you're starting your prep, you're doing 4 to 5 hours a day on target test prep. Now, I've heard target test prep can take months just to get through all of their course material. Did you feel that was the case, where you were watching all these videos, or were you able to just blow through them?
Yeah, I think it's pretty much depending on different people. So actually for Quant, I didn't spend as much time as I did on Verbal. So
why?
Yeah, because like maybe it's like the common qualities of Chinese students, like we are actually decent in math, so many math concepts we have studied before, and yeah, I didn't spend that much time on learning quant, but for when I was going through verbal sections, it did take a lot of time to do it.
Okay, so you use TTP for your verbal preparation. Were you doing any practice questions while you're going through the course, or was it strictly, I'm going to learn the materials, I'm going to learn the fundamentals, and then as I continue to expand, then I'll maybe practice some questions on the form every now and again?
Yeah, so the TTP itself like does have some practice questions, like, but all of them I believe like they are not coming from the OG questions, so you can.
That's correct. I don't think they're legally allowed to.
Yeah, so but actually for verbal sections, there aren't many questions to be practiced on TTP. So when it comes to practice, it's the case to use GMAT Club like questions on that more often. But for quants, actually, I really like their structure about quants. So you get to understand how to solve each kind of questions. And I actually didn't take any notes for quant. So like they made everything clear for me in quant.
You didn't take any notes?
No, I didn't for quant.
Well, okay, so I guess that talks about your competency on the quantitative side already prior to studying, which I find very impressive. I assume you took notes for verbal.
Yeah, verbal is a different story.
And I can't wait to hear about it. But I do want to clarify one thing, which is that Handi has talked about limited number of questions with respect to OG and target test prep. In my view, and I think in a lot of our expert views on GMAT Club, you need to stick to official sources when it comes to verbal. Sentence correction, in particular, you cannot go anywhere else outside the official guides. For critical reasoning and reading comprehension, it's OG, it's GMAT prep, and then it's LSAT. Outside of those, you cannot use anything else, because prep companies can very easily screw up a question. And if they do that, you get into bad habits, you find flaws in their answers, and then you're doubting yourself on test day. On the flip side, quant, it's very easy to get a question that's GMAT-like because all you're doing is plugging in different numbers and changing maybe words around. So if you are studying, you can use non-official sources for quant. For verbal, stick to the real stuff. At least that's my opinion. But Handi, so tell me when you first took a mock test, because a lot of our students tend to, again, either do it at the beginning or they struggle to figure out, okay, when should I pull the trigger to identify where I am in my studying and how much progress I've made? When did you decide to take that benchmark?
Yes, sure. So basically, after exact 2 months of preparation, I started taking my first official GMAT mockup test. So actually, the result of the first one was like kind of ridiculous to me when I first saw it. It was 760. But
Wow.
actually,
Okay.
yeah. So honestly, for the verbal sections, I spent extra time on it. So after like 20 questions or answers, I realized that I couldn't do it on time. So I was like, you know what, like for the first time, I kind of want to see my accuracy side, like not my timing. So I want to make sure when I'm happy when I see the score, like in case for me to keep moving. So I took extra minutes to finish all the tests. So I got 760 in the end. So it's like 50 for quant and 42 or 42 for verbal, I think.
Wow, that is again an impressive score. Now, during that initial phase of studying, which was 2 months, so this was actually probably like a week or two ago, maybe 3 weeks ago. During that time, were you using GMAT Ninja's videos to help you build your core competencies, or did you go to him after your first round of studying?
You mean GMAT Club?
Didn't you
Oh,
say you use GMAT Ninja videos?
oh, did GMAT Ninja video? Yes, of course. So I was like watching his videos all the way in my
Okay.
preparation. Yeah. So yeah.
So you
So like
use those to supplement target test prep.
yes, yeah. Like honestly, I couldn't find any videos like that. Like he made everything so interesting to watch. So yeah, it's been a pleasure to watching the videos on GMAT Ninja Clubs, GMAT Ninja. So yeah.
Again, not to put anybody out in the cold here, but and by the way, I'll post this is GMAT Ninja's website. Charles is a great guy. Uh Absolutely one of the best guys you'll ever meet. He did the 24-hour Ukrainian fundraiser where about a year ago, when Russia invaded Ukraine, the founder of GMAT Club is Ukrainian. GMAT Ninja said if we raise X amount of money, he'll do a 24-hour live stream nonstop. He did. I was here for the vast majority of it. Everyone was in a lot of pain afterwards, but it was worth all the money that we sent over to Ukraine for their help. So Chuck's a great guy. Did you find his videos more helpful than Target Test Prep? Did you find that they complemented each other well? How did you feel you studied for the verbal section?
Yeah, I think they kind of like they they have been working together pretty well. I don't think anyone is overwhelming in this case. But the interesting part of verbal is that different people, like even different experts, can have different explanations on certain questions.
Oh, you better
So
believe it.
yeah, but for GMAT Ninja, like the explanations he made are basically all official questions. So I don't think they made too many conflicts. But I think like they were working together pretty well for me.
So Charles and I, we don't see eye to eye on critical reasoning, which I find funny. Um, believe whoever you want. I honestly, he's more of a, he's more of a an expert than I am in this field. But he and I just we don't agree on pre-thinking in the same way, and we use it different ways. Now, both of our methods have been successful. His probably more so, just because he's so much smarter than I am. But nonetheless, just case in point, I am viewed as a quote unquote expert on the verbal side. He is probably the preeminent voice of every GMAT source, or just preeminent voice of any GMAT idea out there, but you can see how two quote unquote experts, quote unquote from me, not for him, he is an expert, can have varying viewpoints. So find what works best for you, I guess would be the important takeaway from that comment. But again, so you got a 760. You were happy. Did you think it was a fluke? Did you believe that you were truly at a 760? What did you feel when you saw the score pop up?
Yeah, I kind of think like probably my real level is around 730 because honestly, later in my preparation, I really want to make an analogy here. So I don't know if there's anyone here playing chess. So let's say if you can answer all the verbal questions or quant questions with no time frame, it's like playing classic chess. So, but it's very different in the real GMAT exam. You have like very limited time string, so it's like blitz chess. There are many people, also me, like we perform differently in blitz chess and classic chess, like because it's just you have to make decent decisions within limited time string. It's a very different story. So actually, in my second mock-up test, I got 750, but again, extra minutes were spent on the verbal sections. I didn't. So it was like 41 for verbal and 50 for quant. Yeah, and the
Okay,
third
so
one
this
was a
was
different story
untimed
then.
again.
Yes.
Okay, so you've taken 2 untimed tests, but again, you're doing well. And the point you're trying to make, which is if you have unlimited time, almost anybody can do well on the GMAT or the GRE or the LSAT if they have 10 hours to work on it. The fact is you're under a time crunch and you have to be able to compute quickly. So you've taken another one. You're feeling good. How long after your first one did you take your second mock? Was that a week later? Was it a day later?
It's like 3 to 4 days.
Okay, so we've now taken 2. Now, how long after that did you come to the 670, which I have to assume was a timed mock?
Yes.
So how long after those first 2 did you make the leap to the third?
Yes, so I knew I was like I couldn't do it, keep doing this. Like I have to do it within the strict time frame. So it was like after 3 4 days, after I practiced. I did a practice test 1. I was doing a lot of questions on GMAT Club. But probably I didn't like put very strict time limit on that. So, but before the third one, I was trying to rush it. But again, I think like it kind of changed my approach to answering the questions when I was trying to answer it quickly. So yeah, then it came in unfavorable result in the last one, but in the 671. But I kind of realized what happened during the middle and tried to fight back in the remaining preparations.
Okay, so a lot to unpack there. I want to take us back for just a minute, and then we'll break down the 670, and then we'll move on to the 710 and all the wonderful things that entails. You said you were using GMAT Club to help you with some questions, and you were studying with us. What was the preparation like each day on GMAT Club? Were you doing 5 verbal, 10 quant? Were you doing 10 verbal, 10 quant? Were you doing various sections? Were you doing varying levels? How were you leveraging GMAT Club to help you study?
Yeah, sure. So I was just trying to do the official questions on the GMAT Club. And I was doing around probably 10 to 20 quant questions, but probably even more on GMAT Club. Because after I started taking mock-up tests, I didn't have any other concept to study. So it's all about doing questions. So yeah, mostly in verbal actually. But I did do a few questions in quant just to keep myself being familiarized with the content.
Well, and so tell me about that breakdown with verbal. So you said it was what 10 to 20 questions a day. Were you focusing on a specific section that you were weak, or were you just all verbal across the board?
Yeah, so I think I was doing particularly well in critical reasoning questions. So I try to do more sentence correction questions. But there's one thing I kind of found struggling was that like there's so many different explanations for each sentence correction questions. So had to find one of my favorite to try to adopt to it. So yeah, that's basically I just did so many verbal questions in sentence correction. And for reading comprehension questions, yeah, I did some for uh because I just try to avoid doing prep questions, which might appear in the mockup. So I didn't do that many reading comprehension questions, but mostly in verbal, mostly in sentence correction.
And I assume you were looking at GMAT Ninja's responses to help you get a consistent and clear understanding of what was right and wrong with each question.
Yeah. So yeah, I really like his explanation. Obviously, I clicked into his website, but like he charged pretty high.
He charges a lot of money. For anyone curious,
Yeah.
I want to say it's 300 to 500 an hour.
380, I think. Yeah. So honestly, if he made a like complete course, like just recorded course, I would love to buy it if I first saw it. But
I'll text him after this and let him know.
Sure.
That he may be working on it. I don't know. But duly noted on that front, and I think that actually speaks to what a lot of students have troubles with, which is there are so many responses out there. You almost have to try and figure out which you believe and which you trust on the forum. And learning from experts, GMAT Ninja in particular, Generis, which is one of our users on the SC side, is so hypercritical to success that it can't be over-explained, or it can't be overstated enough how just incredibly important that is. But you are using the form. Talk to me about how you were breaking down questions and reviewing them when you got them right and wrong. Were you reviewing them at all? Were you just going through them like, yep, I got it right. Oh, look, I got it wrong. Whoops, I got the verb tense wrong. I'll remember that next time, and you moved on.
Yeah, obviously I had to, look into each questions, but like if I got it wrong, I have to understand why I got it wrong. Although there's sometimes I generally didn't understand the explanations below, but I just tried to find where I was particularly weak and try to practice more questions in that section. That's basically how I did it. Yeah, so I think there's absolutely no value if to practice questions without reviewing, because you just keep making the same mistakes. Yeah, and yeah, honestly, I made so many repeated mistakes in my questions that I was kind of frustrated when I saw I made the same mistakes again. But just try to spend more time on working on the questions you got it wrong. I think it's very important to do it if you don't want to do it wrong again.
And that is also a very critical thing to understand. So now let's bring us back to the test. You got 670. What was the QV breakdown?
On
the 670. So the quant verbal.
Yeah. So I have been scoring consistent 50 in quant, also consistent 8 in integrated reasoning. I don't know if that matters, but I think I got a 29 in verbal, which was shocking to me when I saw it.
And you mentioned that you sort of had to fight back during the exam because you felt you were maybe doing something different and something wrong. Do you want to highlight what you were doing at the beginning and how you changed to sort of quote unquote fight back?
Yeah, so I was thinking about my approach in answering verbal questions in my third mockup. So I was kind of like, oh, I have limited time. Because I have this kind of thing in my mind, like 1 minute 30 seconds for sentence correction, like 2 minutes for critical reasoning, and for reading comprehension is like 2 minutes for each question. So I was just trying to rush, and just trying to use the maybe the tricks, try to identify the correct answer as soon as possible, but it doesn't work. So honestly, I really want to tell people that GMAT is about comprehension. If you don't understand what the question is saying or the paragraphs, you cannot get it right. Maybe you're running pretty good, like some of them right by choosing randomly, but in most cases, you have to understand the questions and the paragraphs because all the options, the choices are designed to make you make mistakes. That's what they're thinking when they design these questions. So do make sure spend as much time on understanding questions first, then answer them. So in my last mockup, I actually did amazing in my last mockup, perfect timing, and I scored 730 in my last mockup. So I remember in one of the reading comprehension, in several reading comprehension paragraphs, I just spent a lot of time reading through the paragraphs and answer every questions without looking back. That actually saved time comparing with if you try to rush every questions, not completing reading all the reading all the paragraphs in the beginning.
I am so glad you brought a lot of this up, and we have a lot to unpack, so I'm gonna pull us back a little bit. But what you mentioned about tricks and about leveraging that versus understanding what you're seeing, ladies and gentlemen, those who are watching this, there are some quote-unquote tricks that can work. For example, on sentence correction, you have a 2-3 split most of the time where there will be something that'll break the question into 2s and 3s. That's all fine and good. Anything beyond that is just puffery and doesn't work. And you know why it doesn't work? Because the GMAT folks understand and know that the tricks that are being taught to you. They know what Kaplan, and by the way, the worst prep company, in my opinion, in the world, they understand what tricks Kaplan is teaching you. And the GMAT is going to play tricks on you to make you think you're seeing those tricks, and they'll make you get the wrong answer every time. Never follow tricks. There is no shortcut to getting a right answer aside from understanding it, getting to the fundamental root cause that's driving the problem, and figuring out a solution. It is so critical for you to understand that. Oh, it's so frustrating. And Handi, you hit on a great point, which is reading comprehension and actually reading and figuring out something that works for you rather than what may not or may traditionally work for others. I have a view and others have views, but I mean, please, you want to say something?
Yeah, so I totally agree that it's all about understanding the questions. There's nothing more important than this in GMAT verbal sections. There's absolutely no trick that can save you time from like getting a right answer. So yeah, rather than trying to rush to it like by using tricks, I would prefer to spend long time to practicing questions, try to using the right mindset, just practice how you solve the question in the right way. It's all about approach in the beginning, then you start working on the timing next.
Couldn't agree more. If you can get it down, your timing will improve as you get more efficient at it. So before we dive into your real take, what did you think in particular changed between your your third mock test and your fourth, where you went from a 670 to a 730? What did you feel that you did differently, either studying or test taking, that got you to that bump in score?
Yeah, so actually after the third, there's a fourth, so I got 700 in my fourth. So it was like after 4 days after I took my third practice exam.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was just trying to, do questions in a fast way, but just did a lot of practicing questions. So it actually helped me to be familiarized with the question types, because actually on TTP, there aren't that many questions to be practiced. So sometimes you cannot rely solely on the course or resources you bought. You have to do a lot of actual practices to be fluent with answering verbal questions.
GMAT Club. Don't know what's gone in my throat here. But please continue.
Yeah, so it's basically doing a lot of questions every day from 6:70 to 10:30 and using the right approach to solve the questions. And yeah, it's just like practice makes perfect. You have to do enough questions to get the right proficiency to solve questions in time.
All right. So we've learned from our mistakes. We've studied our butts off. We're now coming to test day. Did you take the test at home or did you go to a test center?
I did go to a test center. It was in Shanghai. So yeah, so we have to stay in the room for around 40 minutes before actually getting to the exam room. But I don't know what's going on otherwhere, but we have to wear mask. So if I would know that, I probably would have do the practice test wearing mask, but I don't think that really matters. Yeah, so honestly, I think I didn't perform my best during my test because I was kind of anxious in the beginning, but I decided to take verbal first as what I did in my mock-ups. And later when I started doing quant, I was like be more chilled and yeah. And honestly, I kind of feel worried before my test because I didn't do any uh, analytical writing assessment practice before. So I was kind of worried that if I bump it on the test day, I probably have to retake it. But luckily it didn't happen.
What did you get on your AWA?
So it was a 5. I kind of rushed on my conclusion because I kind of ran off time, but I think like 5 is not the worst score in the world.
5? I mean, 4 is considered, anything above 4 is acceptable. So 5 is good. That's not, it really isn't bad. For anyone watching, don't ignore AWA. I would study for it. We've had many adcoms come on these videos and explain that if you get a great GMAT score, but you outright ignored AWA and you got a 3 or a 0, or you bombed IR, they take notice and it doesn't reflect well on you. So please don't ignore that. But Handi, so how did you feel taking the quant verbal? What was your quant verbal breakdown on your 710?
Yeah, so I didn't do my best in verbal. I got 35 in verbal, 15 quant, and it was 710 in total. So I'm not saying the best score. So I was considering like taking it again because I knew I could do better, but I had to kind of make all the applications very soon, so I probably won't have too much time to do it again.
Okay, so 710 you were happy with, probably could have done better, but you're saying, you know what, it's fine. Now let's roll over to our applications here. Have you started your applications?
I'm currently like start working on essays because I'm planning on applying for business schools in the UK. I probably will let you guys know the outcome, but yeah,
Round
so
3 or round 1 of next year?
round 3 this year.
Oh, so that video series I posted earlier on this video, that is potentially very
Yeah,
helpful
road
to
to
you.
round 3. That might be serious.
No, we wish you the best of luck.
Thank
Are
you.
you using a consultant to help you, or are you just doing it on your own?
I say I kind of want to do it on my own first, but for now I don't think there is too much value to be added if I hire a consultant because I like there's nothing like particularly weak in my application that need to be explained. So also I can talk to some alumni in the schools I want to apply. Many of them said like my profile is like looks fine. So I don't think I want to worry about too much on hiring a consultant, but things might change.
Just had to ask. I know some people do, some people don't. I personally believe that they are a good investment, but obviously, if you're a good writer and you sort of know how to play the game, if you will, if you know how to play chess the way the schools want you to play chess, it makes it significantly easier for you to say, you know what, I don't need to incur a $5,000-$10,000 cost. I can do this on my own without that additional support. So
Yeah.
wish you the best of luck. I mean, do you want to list some of the schools you're applying to, or do you want to keep that kind of hush hush for now?
Honestly, I don't want to jinx it. If it doesn't happen, it's it's not that cool. But it's like business schools in the UK. Like I'm applying for like the best ones, so you guys probably should have names in it on it. So yeah.
Oh, I think of HEC Paris. I think of London Business. INSEAD, Said at Oxford. Those are the ones that jump to mind. I'm probably missing some, and I'm probably gonna get hate mail for saying, "Oh, how dare you not say my school?" Yeah, I'm sorry. I missed probably 500 institutions in Europe. Cut me a break.
I mean, you mentioned at least one of them. I assure you.
Okay, excellent. Again, forward all your hate mail to me. Most of you have. Oh, wait, I forgot to post my profile. Which I should probably do right now. Forward all your hate mail. Happens more than I'd like to admit to. But go ahead, message me. I respond to all messages, and I promise I'm not. I don't take it personally if you do have anything hurtful or mean to say. Unless you cross maybe racial or religious or gender lines, and at that point, fine, I'll come down on you like a ton of bricks. But seeing as I am all out of questions at this time, and I don't think anybody asked any questions in the chat. By the way, I brought up Selby at the beginning. This is our marketing. I think she calls herself our marketing manager. She runs our Instagram. So for anyone watching this, when you see an Instagram post, you're probably very familiar with Selby. She's the one who creates and posts that content. So it's nice that she was able to drop by. She's a sweetheart. She's a great person. So happy to see her. Handi, is there anything that I didn't touch on that you want to touch upon? As in, a lot of students like to say, "Oh, things I wish I had known before going into," or just in general, you skipped over this topic. I'd like to touch on it briefly. The floor is yours to talk about anything that you want to as a recap.
Yeah, sure. Like, if people are like thinking about which like prep course to go with, like there's so many out there. They have like trials. I think you can just like make a trial of each of them like at the same time, see which one fits you the best. It's definitely different up to different like qualities or different things, so just try it out in the first. And yeah, it's worth mentioning again, like comprehension is everything in verbal questions.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Folks, so we're going to wrap up here, which is a record for me. Most of these go 55, hour 20, hour 30. But with respect to Handi, who again is in China right now, and it's pushing midnight, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, maybe. No. Yes, I can do math. Despite not being a quant expert. With respect to his time, we're going to wrap up. If anyone has any additional questions that they didn't want to ask here, shoot, other side, way over here in the YouTube page. If anyone has questions that they wanted to get asked or want answered that they didn't get asked, or you felt uncomfortable doing so, you can message me. I posted my forum profile down below. You can comment on this YouTube, and either myself or Handi will respond. But that's all that we've brought for you today. So from myself, from all of GMAT Club, I was going to say GMAT Ninja, from GMAT Club and everyone who's participated here, thank you so much for joining us here on this lovely Sunday. We hope to see you again. We're going to have a very special debrief in a couple of weeks. We're going to promote the heck out of it. It's going to be one of the more important ones we've ever done. So be on the lookout for that. GMAT Ninja will be the one debriefing a very special guest. So be on the lookout for that. It'll probably, again, be sometime in early to mid-March. But to everyone here, thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you during those videos, and happy hunting on your studies. Take care, everybody. Oh, shoot, I forgot to click end. There we go.